All right, guys, welcome into this episode of the Xtra Mile Podcast. As always, we have a high caliber guest here to my right and to your left, and we are ready to rock and roll with this episode of the Xtra Mile Podcast.
Your success is on the other side of your comfort zone. See, that's the difference between me and those other guys. I wanted it more than they did. I wanted it enough to get uncomfortable. I wanted it enough to go the extra mile. Do you want it bad enough? Do you want it bad enough to go the extra mile?
Woo! All right, guys. So I know somebody who definitely wanted it bad enough to go the extra mile. That man is, again, to my right. To my right, guys, I have a good friend, a mentor, somebody who has helped me grow my business, somebody who has helped me grow as a person, as a business owner, and that man is Alan Kovitz, the author, the coach, the man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Alan?
Hey, it is good to be here, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean, just 1 mile? I've been about 1,000 miles, not about 1 mile.
I have walked 5,000 miles.
And you have, never mind.
Let's go. So Alan, I know you got a lot. We got a lot that we're going to bring to the table today, guys. This is an episode that you definitely want a pad and pen next to you for. Let's start, though, real quick with a brief intro, bio. Tell the guys a little bit about yourself, and we'll get into some cool stuff.
Oh, my, I've had a lot more years than you, so I've got a lot more bio stuff to go over. But you know, we'll go born in New York City, raised on the streets in Queens, Brooklyn and Queens. You can imagine what that's like. In Queens, I was in Howard Beach.
Okay.
So Howard Beach is famous because of one of its residents. You might have heard of a guy named John Gotti. Just thinking you might have heard.
Yeah. Once or twice.
Yeah. So
this is like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood completely.
Exactly. So that was the neighborhood I was brought up in. But it was a great neighborhood. Moved to New Jersey, central New Jersey, Hightstown in Mercer County. Loved growing up there. It's now a lot bigger than it was when I was there. I went to Rutgers for 3 semesters, left there, took a year off, and worked because I was paying my own way through college. So I worked 2 jobs, partied like a rock star. That was the day.
Yeah.
And then I went out to a small school in Missouri called Tarkio College, and that was awesome. I packed my car. This is before cell phones. This is, I had a roadmap to get me to a town in Missouri 24 hours straight from New Jersey. And I tell you what, if you haven't driven through the Midwest, I mean, that's an extra mile. Actually, it's an extra 1,500 miles.
Yeah, I was going to say.
To be exact.
Listen, most of the people that are listening on this don't even know about road maps and anything like that. Me and Heather were talking the other day about a trip we took, and she was like, yeah, that was back. We had to MapQuest that. And I thought back, I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. We had to print out MapQuest directions.
Even I forgot about MapQuest. Are you kidding me? No, but think of how cool that was to go by myself. And I had to find a new radio station every few miles, too. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
All right? Do you remember those days? So I had to tune in trying to find my classic rock and roll. It wasn't easy in the Midwest, I tell you. Once you got past Pennsylvania, it was like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, country.
And then getting into northwest Missouri, that's the cornfields.
Yeah.
So you have rolling. It's kind of like you would picture Iowa.
Okay.
Kind of rolling farmland. And in fact, Atchison County, Missouri, fun fact, is the popcorn capital of the world. So they made corn for popcorn, and yes, it is a different corn.
Really?
We used to get these big bags in college, last us a semester. You know, it was awesome. $5 for a big bag of popcorn.
Well, that's why all this corn I've been trying to pop isn't working, because I'm not using the right corn.
You're not using the right corn. And, you know, us guys here from New York, New Jersey, Philly, we love a good pizza.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know you like a good pizza.
Oh, yeah.
So,
no anchovies, though.
Well, no fish. No,
fish.
wrong thing.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Tarkio, Missouri, and pizza, no such thing. I had to travel 25 miles into Iowa to get a pizza.
Well, hopefully that changed since then. Hopefully there's some pizza there in Tarkio.
It has.
All right, good.
Unbelievable. And then, it all started from there.
Yeah.
So, got my MBA at University of Pittsburgh, did my MBA in 1 year instead of 2. So that was kind of tough. But it was the year that the Pirates won the World Series, Steelers won a Super Bowl. And it was a glorious year to be in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, spoken like a true sports fan. We always that's how we got our timeline set. Oh, it was the year that the Eagles went to the NFC Championship game. What year was that? That's how we timeline and mark that on our we're going to have it written out, and we'll just have little World Series and Super Bowls that mark out when we accomplish what we accomplished.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I really kicked around, in my 20s. And it really wasn't until later that I found my footing. And that's, the story, but I'll tell the story.
Yeah.
Because it's important. When I was 29, I was diagnosed with a tumor in my thigh. So I had no idea what they meant, what was going on. And they sent me into Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. And if you know what Sloan Kettering is, that is a cancer hospital, one of the foremost ones in the world, if not the country. And the doctor there told me this is not a cancerous situation. Great. But we're going to have to remove a significant portion of your femur, which is your thigh bone. It's the largest
It's a pretty
bone.
important part of your leg.
You think? Yeah, it's a very important part of your leg. And I asked, so what does that mean? What is my recovery going to be like? And he told me one of the scariest things I've ever been told. We have no idea until we go in there and take out what needs to be taken out.
Jeez.
So they took out 3 inches of my thigh bone, filled it in with my hip, bone grafts, and I spent 9 months in bed. And it was during that time that I really changed my world and really propelled, to where I am today.
Yeah.
Because being in bed for 9 months, again, think about this. This is before your time, Bobby. You and a lot of people listening were not born yet.
Yeah.
So there was no cable TV. All right. So think about laying in bed for 9 months. I was married. My wife would leave in the morning, leave a pitcher of water by my bedside and a sandwich. And I was allowed to get out of bed with help once a day to go to the bathroom. So what did I do?
Hopefully timed out your bowel movements.
I did. That was a very important part of my world at the time.
No, thought. Yeah.
Because most of us don't make the time to think about the things that are really important to us.
Yeah.
What do we want?
Yep.
How are we going to do it? Where are we going to go? The things that really were important. And that's what I did in 9 months.
Hey, guys, listen. So this is one of those moments where, I told you to grab your pen and your paper. The whole point of, when somebody goes through something like that, and this is the moment that they change their lives and have these thoughts, we want to share these stories so that you don't have to go through that, right? So that you can make these moves off of what other people have learned by going through those things themselves, right? So, don't wait for something super traumatic to happen for you to change your thinking and change your life. You can get ahead of that now and hopefully not have to go through that at all. So continue to pay attention to this.
Yeah, big time. So I wrote a lot of things down. In fact, I knew that I didn't want to be with my wife at the time. We were great friends, but I wanted kids.
Yeah.
I was 30 years old. I wanted children. I didn't want to wait till I was 40 to have children. I wanted children like now. I wanted children. I wanted to live in a house. I wanted to have a job where I wasn't working on the weekends or nights. I'd come from retail.
Yeah.
So, I was working 70, 80 hours a week at nights, on the weekends. My friends were all off having a good time, and there I was busting my ass just to get ahead. So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted a different type of employment. So again, those were the days where I actually had to type up my resumes. All right. So typed up a resume.
Typewriter?
I had a typewriter, all the cover letters, look at the newspaper, look at an ad, help wanted, send away the cover letter with a resume, wait, maybe use the phone to phone somebody to see what was going on. And I landed a great job.
Yeah.
I landed a great job, in sales.
Right.
And Bob, I've talked about this. I think it's a great way for someone to start in business. You want to go in business, go door to door.
Yeah.
So
it is a business.
It is a business. When I was 16, I was a Fuller Brush salesman in the summertime.
What was it?
Fuller Brush, which was a company that only sold direct to consumer. Think about this. Knocking on doors.
Hairbrush?
Hair brushes.
Oh, shit. Which we're not ideal clients today.
We are not ideal clients. I think it's been 3 decades the last time I had a hairbrush. But no, so think of that background, which led me into understanding sales. If you can sell a hairbrush to Bobby or Alan, you know what you're doing.
Right.
And
Now, real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, but how fundamental is that for, I always look back on my door-to-door sales as something that really set me up for success because I was conditioned. In what ways do you think that part really, played into your later success?
I think what happens is, and you're going to relate to this, you get a lot more no's than yeses.
Mm-hmm.
So you're conditioned to understand that rejection is part of business.
100%.
Not everyone's going to do business with you. Not everyone's going to like you. No matter how cool you are, not everyone's going to like you. There are going to be people that hate you for various reasons. So you learn to deal with rejection. You learn to deal with a door being slammed in your face.
Yep.
But you understand the more doors slammed in your face, the more sales you make.
100%.
All right?
Yeah.
The more sales you make, the more money you have, the more you can fix your car, buy a few more 8 tracks for your 8-track.
Yeah, I know nothing about that.
It's rocking. It's music, Bobby. It's music. Real music. 8 tracks are cool because you'd be listening to a song, and all of a sudden in the middle of the song, it would change tracks.
Really?
For sure.
Yeah.
You really don't know that. That's why cassettes were so cool, because it didn't change in the middle of a song. But anyway, so to answer your question, I think you can do it without having that experience.
Yeah.
But if you have an opportunity to experience, have your kid experience it. And before that, I was a paper boy.
Yeah.
And I was a paper boy in the days when the paper boy had to collect the money.
Oh,
so I had to
that's
go,
a different ball game right there.
Different ball game. So not only did I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning when it was raining on my bike to deliver the papers, once a week I went around knocking on the doors to get the 50 cents.
Where's my money?
Where's my money?
Man, there's a movie called Better Off Dead with John Cusack, is one of his early movies, and the paper boy in there had to do the same thing. And he's chasing him around the whole movie saying, "Where's my $2?" He ends up on a ski slope later in the movie to try to collect his $2 from this guy.
Right.
It's hilarious. So the whole movie, his kid is like chasing him down for $2. That was you.
It was.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, one of the cool things about collecting the money door to door like that, it led me to being able to ring doorbells, number one. I also got tips.
Oh, really?
So, paper people today don't get tips. It's a whole different thing.
But I also think, it exposed you to another side of the business that was really important too. Like, listen, it doesn't, okay, cool. You closed the deal, you sold something, right? Which you would learn probably later at the other door-to-door stuff. But, making sure that that money continues to come in, making sure that, you're collecting and not leaving your accounts receivables in a growing position. So
right on.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, I didn't come from a background where my parents had extra money to give me.
No.
My father actually, became legally blind. By the time I was a teenager.
I don't think I knew that, Alan.
So he couldn't drive.
Wow.
So I remember the time when my father had to give up his keys, so he couldn't get anywhere. So my mother had to drive him around, and then eventually I had to drive him around, and he was a CPA. So imagine being a CPA who can't see. So obviously the income in the house kind of went down, and so I had to pick up some slack, and it was all good. I didn't think it was a bad thing. It just was a thing.
No.
But jumping ahead,
you were going to have to figure it out eventually anyway.
I had to figure it out.
Yeah, so.
But frankly, it's also the reason why I hopped in my car when I was 19 years old and went, all the way across country.
Yeah.
By myself.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Yeah, it's liberating, man. You get this idea, and then at that point, you know for sure if it's to be, it's up to me, right? Like nobody's coming to save me. I got to get this done right myself.
No, so one of the things I was scared about, you might remember these days, I don't know if you do, you don't, was doing my laundry. There's one thing my mother did. She always did my clothes. So there I was, like, now what the hell am I going to do? I didn't even know how to use a washing machine.
Man, listen, at least we have washing machines. I couldn't imagine washing clothes, how they used to have to wash clothes with washboards and bins. Oh, man, no sirree.
But there were advantages to being in Tarkio. Because they had a appliance store.
Yeah.
And there were these 2 old ladies in the appliance store that if you brought them your laundry, just give it to them. And then the next day you pick it up and it's all folded and done.
Hustlers.
Loved it.
Yeah.
It cost like 50 cents. Here you go.
Love it.
Because the ladies were sitting there with all these washing machines doing nothing.
Doing nothing, yeah.
So
let's hook it up.
They hooked us up. So that was great. But I still didn't know how to do my washing.
Yeah. Good. Hey, listen, some things I don't want to know how to do.
That's right.
Know?
That's right.
So that's good stuff though, man. So, all right. So take me, so you're there, right? And you're navigating that part of your life. Where does, all right, let's go back. You're in bed.
Yep.
You're rethinking life. You're saying, okay, I'm going to take this to the next level because I'm not happy with the way I've been living my life anyway. All right. So what happens here? Like, where do we go from there?
Well, I think it started with me being able to get out of bed more often, and I, really hopped up my rehab.
Yeah.
And, I was limping around and getting to do things. And the really cool thing was I remember the first softball game I played after that. I always was a really good hitter. And I remember sitting in the box and, they pinch hit me. So I got up there and I roped one and I limped to first base. But I don't know if they still do this, but those were the days where you can have a designated runner.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
someone
yeah,
ran for me.
Yep.
You know how cool it felt just to limp to first base?
Hell yeah.
And then even better for me being the hockey player, the first time I got on the ice. Because I used to be the mean, nasty enforcer. But I remember the first time I got back on the ice after getting back from my leg. It was about 9.5 months later, 10 months later. And everyone looked at me and said, "What the hell's wrong with you, Kovitz?" I said, "What? You have a smile on. You're skating on the ice with a smile on your face." Because I thought I'd never be able to do it again.
Yeah.
The doctor told me, he goes, "I'll get you to walk, but you're never going to play hockey again."
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I told myself I was going to be able to do.
Yeah.
In other words, no one's going to tell me what I can or cannot do.
Yeah.
That's a lesson in and of itself.
100%. 100% there is. There's that line from Pursuit of Happiness where the dad's like, "Hey, listen, basketball, you're probably going to be as good as me, which means you're probably not going to be good enough for the league, which means you probably should spend your time doing something else." Like, what? No, you can't do it. Doesn't mean he can't. Yeah.
Correct.
Now I want to go back because on some real shit, like the thing for me is like, no matter what, right? The miracle of you being able to walk and get on the ice again was amazing. But it seems like still physically you left that bed slightly impaired, but mentally stronger than you had ever been, right?
Oh.
Like to the point where you had a vision, right? So how did that part play out for you? Where did the mindset shift take you from there?
Okay, so my surgery was like Christmas Eve of one year, and the following summer, so I was still in bed.
Yeah.
And the people would come to me to do my workouts and everything. But one of the things I got was a trainer, which you put your bicycle on a flywheel. They still have these things.
Right.
It's called a trainer. So I used to get myself on my crutches up to the trainer and literally crank until it hurt. And it hurt all the time. So I would crank and crank and crank. And in the Olympics, I raced against the people riding bicycles. And there was one race, it was a long distance race where, at least according to my odometer, I would have won a medal.
Really?
So you talk about thinking positive. I said, I still can't walk around. I'm not allowed to, but I can pedal. I was in a lot of pain, but I was able to force myself to be strong and quick.
Yeah.
And that's part of belief.
Right.
Is setting yourself a goal. So my goal was to be able to play hockey, play softball, to do the things I love to do. So that was part of it. And that was early on because it was really the physical nature that'll bring along the mental nature.
Man, it's so amazing how much like the mind can be so strong in situations like that. I mean, we've heard tons of examples where doctors have come in and said, "You're never going to walk again. You're never going to this again." But when you're so convinced, to do or to learn or whatever, you can overcome any of those things. And it comes down to how much you want it. Like, how much do you want this? Do you want it bad enough to get that uncomfortable, painful feeling?
And that comes to belief. It's belief in yourself. Believe that if you set a goal for yourself, an idea for yourself, that you will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Yeah.
So that was the start. The other start was I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I finally started reading between the lines, and I actually got a job in Bear, Delaware. So I was in Central Jersey. So I drove down for my interview in Bear, and I was still on crutches.
Oh,
and
wow.
it almost kept me from getting the job because it was a sales guy on the road where I had to be in a car and drive around and call on lumber yards and home centers. I was selling Anderson windows.
Yeah.
So there was a distribution center in Bear, and I would work from there. And I was really afraid that if they saw me on crutches, they wouldn't hire me. So I limped myself into the room trying to walk as perfectly as I could, and I got the job, and it was awesome. But they didn't know, like the first month, it hurt so bad to get out in the car every day. I hadn't been in the car other than going down for that interview.
So is that job the what trapped you in Delaware and got you here forever?
No, because I was still in Jersey.
Okay.
But it was 9 months after that, and I had already, as soon as I got the job, I told my ex that she was going to be my ex.
Oh, shit.
Well, it's the truth,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, we departed from each other friends.
Yeah.
Still friends to this day.
Good.
There's
Good
no
for you
harm, no
guys.
foul. She took the dog, and there was really nothing else that we had together.
Right.
So it was great. You know, it was early love. So I got promoted. 9 months later, I got promoted to sales manager. It was really cool because the vice president of the company came to me at a crab feast in Bear, Delaware, and said, "How would you like to move to Virginia Beach?" I was like, "Yeah." You know, I was 30. I was single. You know, I was good to go. So
What do you think? I mean, and I know that you had some experience in sales at that time.
Yeah.
What do you think made you so good at sales at that time?
I'll tell you what, it seems so ridiculously simple. I did what I said I was going to do.
Be impeccable with your word.
Thank you. I didn't even know that then.
Yeah.
You know, the 4 agreements or being impeccable with your word. But when I told a lumber dealer that was 2 hours away from me that I would see him every Monday morning between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, I remember the first time I'd tell people that, they'd say, "You know, the guy before you, we'd see him once a month, once a quarter. He never was the same day." I said, "You're going to see me at the same time, the same day, every week."
Every week.
"Oh, we'll see about that." You know, all these guys from Bergen County, New Jersey, it's like they're New Yorkers. You know, it's like the Sopranos up there.
Yeah.
You know, "Oh, you're not going to do that." I said, "The hell I'm not."
Yeah.
And after a few months, me being consistent, what did that mean? More orders for Alan.
Yeah.
So,
Guys, real quick, take note of that. Like, listen, you know, it's one thing to know the features and benefits of your product. It's one thing to be able to explain all of those things. It's another thing to say you're going to do something and to do it exactly as you said you were going to do it. And here's the other part of that. If you can't do it, don't say you can do it, right? So understand both parts of that. Deliver on the front and the back end. Say things that you can do. And then when you say you're going to do something, do it. Be impeccable with your word.
see, and it starts, thanks, Bobby, for adding that, because it starts with you saying what you're going to do with yourself before with others. So remember, as I was laying there in bed, it was all about me. And there are times in your life you have to make it all about you.
Yes, sir.
What can you do for you? Because until you're the best for you, you can't be the best for other people. And that's your family, clients, you know, relatives, friends. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You know, you got to
if
be
you
the
don't
best
mind, I
for
want
you.
to dive a little deeper into this. Think about it. And let's, because I know this is something that you and I know so well. We've talked about this so much, but you know, people listening, they need to understand how truly important that is, and maybe even some advice on how to find that. You know, obviously we could speak all day on that, but if you have a couple of quick tips on prioritizing yourself and making you the priority in your life.
I think it comes from a decision you make. You know, for me, it wasn't a decision. It was thrust upon me. And that's what happens with a lot of people when things like that are thrust upon them, that they have to make a decision. Let's say they have a heart attack out of nowhere, like a long-distance runner has a heart attack. It happens, and they have to change what they do. They have to think about themselves. How are they going to eat? How are they going to be? How are they going to live? But we also have the choice to do that prior to, by saying, all right, I'm going to do now what I need to do to take care of me. Now, you might not know what to do that. That's where coaching comes in. You know, that's where coaching comes in. That's why I decided to be a coach, because I'd lived it, breathed it, made my own decision, but that's rare when people do that.
Yeah, it's hard because, you know, a lot of times we're put in positions where we have to do what we have to do instead of us doing what we truly wanted to do and set out to do, right? And so, you know, like so many people use this example of the flight attendant when she teaches you the safety on a plane, right? And the safety on the plane, they say what? They say put your mask on before assisting others, right? So if you put your mask on first on a plane, why are you not putting your mask on first here, right here on the solid green earth, right? You know, put yourself first, and you're going to put yourself in a position to love and care for others a lot better than you otherwise would have.
I think we have things that work against us. I think, and no offense to anybody out there, I think part of our Judeo-Christian heritage is, you should be humble, and, you shouldn't, be about yourself. And I think
I'm the only self I got.
Well, and I think I think we read that wrong. For those of you out there who are religious, I think we're looking at it wrong. I don't think God is telling us not to take care of ourselves. He's saying once you take care of yourself, look out for your fellow man. I don't think it's anything other than that. But it's up to you to make the decisions to take care of you the best you can. Mm-hmm. And then getting a system. And Bobby, you know the system. And, when I look back, when I found the system that I use with my clients today, I used that system laying in bed. Mm-hmm. I didn't know it at the time.
Right, of course.
But I went through that system.
I mean, that's how every system's ever been developed, right? They didn't know what they were doing at first.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
But I fell into it.
Yeah.
So that was luck, or maybe by design, or my, deciding what to do. But that's why I do what I do. I know I make my living through it, but still, every client I work with, it's like I'm giving a secret away. Here is the way that you can begin to take care of you to make you the best you can be, so you can be the best you can for everyone around you.
I love that. We've had some guests on this show where we discussed at the end of your life, you can say, okay, this is what I did, right? But what if we were shown what we could have done? Imagine that, right? At that moment, hey, look, this is what you did. This is like one of those, those things where you could choose multiple endings. Like you can, you know what I mean? Like that's, hey, this is what you did do. This is what you could have done. And that right there, that life unlived scares the shit out of me. Like, what am I not doing right now that I'm supposed to be doing? What could I have been accomplishing at this point? How many other people could I be helping, right? And that's what you're doing every single day. You're teaching people how to get on that path of what could be done and what is possible.
But still, here's a story from just last week.
Let's go.
Again, Bobby, that once a quarter I meet with my peers. So we had a Zoom conference.
Yeah.
Normally I'm in Reading, Pennsylvania. Yeah. A Zoom conference from people all over the country. These are the best of the best of the best coaches, my peers. I gave a couple presentations. During one of my presentations, someone hit me across the head. He said this. He said, isn't there a lack of leadership in our country today? Hasn't there been a lack of leadership?
Of course.
You look at government, you look at companies, you look at the scandals in the companies, you look at scandals all around. That's lack of leadership. And you know what he said? Shame on us for not leading the way to take care of this. We're sitting here working with our clients in our towns or wherever we go. We're on Zoom with someone from another country, but we're not flying the flag to take care of our own country. And that's what I was doing today, Bobby. I was on the phone with some of my mates trying to figure out how we can blow this thing up, because that's what I'll look back on, that myself and my mates could have had a bigger impact on leadership.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, right? Like, first of all, you got my vote for presidency, by the way.
Thank you.
Kovitz for president.
Not running ever.
2026? What is that? Anyway. No, 2025? Yeah, anyway. 2024. Okay. No, but you're absolutely right. It is interesting how, like, in the government, like, obviously we're not going to get on a political conversation, but it is astounding to me that we have so many wonderful leaders by way of entrepreneurship in the country, but these leaders typically aren't represented in that level of leadership positioning, and they're oftentimes, doing their stuff for the community. But just like we were saying a little while ago, it's obvious that they put themselves first to begin with, right? What is Brian Tracy? Brian Tracy says this all the time, and he's like, people are like, don't you feel guilty about the money that you're making and like what you're doing? And he's like, no, the very best way to help the homeless is not to become one of them, right? So like at the end of the day, we have to put ourselves in position. And then once we're in position, it is our responsibility to do what you did today, to find out where we can contribute to the solution. Because like you said, you're sharing a secret with people, which shouldn't be a fucking secret.
Exactly.
This shouldn't be a secret. This should be taught. This should be common knowledge, and this should be excelling people in all areas of their life. Because here's the reality. If many more people knew about this, there's still only the people that are willing to put the work in, right? So it's okay for everybody to know these secrets because there's still only so many people that are willing to bust their ass to put the work in anyway.
You know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
So
you've been there and done it. So you understand what that takes and how introspective you have to get. We're not taught to be introspective. You know, oh, don't take care of yourself too much. You know, what about your brother and your sister, your mother, your father, your grandparents, you know, everyone else? Take care of you. It's the same thing with the air mask coming down in the airplane. So, but we also need some template. We need some kind of direction.
yeah.
So I think that's what the secret we have to get more out is, you know, and I try not to keep it secret, Bobby. I try and talk about it, and you know that.
Of course.
I try and preach it, you know, and believe it or not, as an introvert, it's not always easy to be out there,
Right.
you know, and preaching it. But I'll do it until I die because it needs to be done.
Yeah. What do you think it is, Alan, that's stopping people from just pursuing happiness? As you know what I mean? Like we have so many people, like we talked about, stuck in the mundane 9 to 5 going, and maybe there are going to be plenty of people that are happy doing that, by the way. So that's not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that aren't happy in that and that are accepting this mediocrity in their lives. What do you think is the major thing stopping people from putting themselves first and pursuing happiness?
Fear.
Number
1, fear. What happens if I fail?
Yeah.
You don't know until you fail.
Yep.
That's the beauty of it. You don't know until you make mistakes. People don't realize that. I think also at school we're taught not to make mistakes. Got to get it right. Got to get it 100% right. But for us, we only learn from making mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's the fear. What happens if? What happens if I try and get a better job, but I don't have any job?
Right.
You know, and you know what it is because you've read this in the material that I use all the time is what's the worst thing that can really happen? And I think you hit upon it, and it's universal. The worst thing that happened is 5 years later, 10 years later, a decade later, on your deathbed, you think about what could have been. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I know for me, I pledge not to be thinking that. I know I will no matter what I accomplish. I'll be thinking, but what if I had changed this? What if I had talked to 5 more people here? What if I had been on 10 more podcasts or whatever it takes to have more people understand how important it is?
Yeah. Would you agree that most people, once they imagine that worst case scenario, right? When you say, okay, what is that you're afraid of? Let's say you try this and it doesn't work, and that the worst you can possibly imagine happens. And once you've outlined that and said, hey, okay, this is what's going to happen if the worst case scenario happens, and they, like, a light bulb goes off, I'm like, that's really not that fucking bad. It's not that bad.
It's always that way.
Right.
Always.
Like, when has it ever been you were going to try something, and if it didn't work, somebody was going to shoot you in your head? Never?
I don't know.
Like, maybe when you were in New York up in John Gotti's neighborhood, that was the case, but not in most situations, right? So in most situations, the outcome is not nearly as bad as we try to make it out to be, and therefore we talk ourselves out of trying something new because we imagine the worst case scenario is far worse than it actually is.
We'll go back to childhood, Bobby. You know this because I preach this too. What were we taught? Don't talk to strangers.
Don't speak unless spoken to.
Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this.
Don't leave the yard.
Don't leave the yard. It's all negative. It's all negativity. We're taught negativity. We're told what not to do, not what we should do.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. You know, if parents taught their kids what they should do. By the way, when you run into a stranger, this is how you handle a situation. Then we'll know. Then we'll feel more confident in every situation. So it's built into us, unfortunately. You know, so we have to overcome that. You know, you and I are sitting here because we fought like hell to overcome that, to think positively. We know we think positively and things are going to work out. Not everyone thinks that way.
No.
But when that switch is flicked, you know, it is brilliant what transpires.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that light comes on.
The light comes on and boom.
Yeah. So guys, everybody that's listening, I think this is an official challenge from me and Alan right now. Imagine whatever you're trying to accomplish. Imagine that worst case scenario, right? Take a look at what is the worst case scenario, worst outcome that could possibly happen as a result of you trying whatever it is you're after, right? Take a look at it. Is it really that bad? Is it really going to end your life, end anybody that you care about's life?
Here's another challenge. Now imagine what the possibility is. If you do what is possible for you to do, look at that. You know what we call that. We call that the dream inventory.
Yep.
Look at it, build it, make it happen. Look at it all the time.
Yeah.
Focus on that. Focus on the brilliant things that can transpire from what you can do. And let that drive you instead of the don'ts, the negatives, the can'ts. I can't do that. Can't do that.
Yeah, and I think that conversation, right, all of those things are what makes us habitually say, what if it doesn't work, instead of simply asking us, what if it does work? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and because we're in a culture that, like, that's what we look at. Okay, what if it doesn't work, right? But what about all the wonderful, positive possibilities that are out there if it does? And, you know, that could sell you on this too if you just took a second to look at it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it's looking at the possibilities, keeping those in front of you all the time. And even the possibility of how you can think. Can you think without saying, I don't know, maybe not? You know, that's an attitude.
Yeah.
You know, that's an affirmation. That's a negative affirmation you're telling yourself.
Yeah. You know? And that goes back to what you were talking about a little while ago, that self-love piece, right? Because once you go into that place where, unfortunately, it took Alan going through 9 months of being bedridden and me going through my courts and troubles to realize that I was worth it, right? Because once you find that place of self-love, like, you matter, you not only do you become a person that is understanding that we're worth it, but we're then to this magical place where not only are we worth it, but we owe it to ourselves, right? We owe it to ourselves now to put the work in, to get uncomfortable, to challenge our fears, to do everything we possibly can to achieve growth, which you mentioned already comes through failure, loss, and trials and tribulations.
Right on. So instead of giving yourself that stuff, you know, what you went through, what I went through, and I think it's not just one time in our life that we go through these things. There's multiple times.
Count on it.
Count on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been through a really heavy divorce. Not from my first wife. That was easy. From my second wife, the mother of my children. You know, you go through that. You're going to go through things. How about 5 years ago when I started the whole process with my right eye? And you know all about this, Bobby.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, the pain, you know, the surgeries, the unknowing, you know, the losing of my sight, all that other stuff. Everything I went through prior to that helped me to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, I never was thinking, oh my God, what happens if I can't see out of an eye? You know, what happens if this? I was thinking, what do I need to do to prepare myself? How can I make it the best I can? Give myself every opportunity. I'm going to have every damn surgery the world's ever known, you know, until the very last one. You know, I'm going to do whatever is possible to be able to see.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, so fucking what?
Could be worse.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Could be a whole lot worse.
Yeah.
So just keep on soldiering forth, knowing what you need to do, and more importantly, what you want to do. You brought this up earlier, you know? It's not just it's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But most people...
Why wouldn't you want why wouldn't you want to be going after the things you want to do?
Because, come on now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't.
Of course.
Because, well, I need to do this, I need to do this, no, you don't. What do you want? Well, I can't do what I want because it's what I need. Bullshit. It was my ADD today on Facebook, by the way.
Yeah. You might not be able to do it right at this second or tomorrow morning, but you might be able to do it next week.
Get on with it, man.
Yeah.
Get on with it. You can do
Get started.
Get started.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, so let's talk about that, right? So all right, so hopefully, you know, the people that are listening, you guys are understanding there's this point where you have to get to, right? Self-love. You now feel like you owe yourself, or at least that you are worth it enough to start setting goals, right? To have a vision, to have dreams, and now you want to put an action plan in place to achieve these things. What are some ways that, you really, what are some of the best, what's some of the best advice you can give the people that are listening on goal setting, right? And how to be successful in accomplishing those goals?
I'm going to tell you the simplest thing, Bobby. Write it down. That's the simplest thing. Because most people say, I got plenty of goals. Really? What are they? Hold on a second. Let me remember. Or someone says, hey, let me take out my wallet and I'll show you what those damn goals are because I got them written right here.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then learn how to set goals that increase your odds of attaining those goals. Because there are ways, proven ways, that have been worked on over the years to help people achieve their goals quicker, easier, more in line with their desires.
Yeah.
So, that's what we work on.
Yeah. There's a lot of goal setting processes out there. One of the coolest things that Alan taught me going through his program was to plan for the things that can knock you off your path, right? And I think that's a very interesting element. I don't think a lot of people think about that. Like, what are some things that could stop you from accomplishing your goal? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, let's go back to the plane. Because every pilot, before they take off, has a sheet. And it's all full of what are the possible obstacles and I'm going to run into on this route from Philly to L.A. Well, it looks like when I get over the Rockies, guess what? The weather's going to suck. So what do I need to do? So they're pre-planning for the obstacles.
Oh, man.
See, most goal-setting systems have the goal, and now what am I going to do to get there? But we don't look at what can knock us off. And again, you said it just a few minutes ago. Those knocks will keep on coming because a lot of times it's stuff beyond our control. So you got to prepare for them. What's the obstacle? What's standing in your way? What's going to keep you from getting to where you want to go? And it could be a load of different things.
Hell yeah.
And the first thing most people work on is the biggest thing that's going to stand between me and getting where I want to go is me. And my attitude,
Yeah.
So, that's a place to start. So, yeah, some people are out there, I'm sure, Bobby, they're going to listen to this going, holy shit, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot of work. But if you do it in the right format, it makes it easier for you. If you attempt to do it on your own, it'll take you 9 months in a lot of pain. Been there and done that. Or we can do it in just a few months.
And aren't you worth it? Like, aren't you worth it? Don't you believe that you're doing so much for so many other people, right? And most of you are working a job that somebody else is owning and profiting from, right? So at the end of the day, like, isn't it worth it to you to take a leap and to make something of your own, or to go after something that you simply just want to accomplish? And listen, it doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be a business. If you want to climb Mount Everest, that's a goal of yours, guess what? Put it on paper. There's something magical that happens between the mind and your hand. When you're writing something down, it becomes real. That goal can become real by just simply doing that. And again, you owe it to yourself. Everything in life worth having is hard. But the things that are easy aren't worth having at all. It's the same, man. It goes back to anything that we know about sales. Like what's cheap isn't good and what's good isn't cheap. Well, the same thing is true in life.
It takes a devotion, though. This past weekend, I saw a movie on Netflix called Dawn Face, I think it is. It's about the guy who, like 5 years ago, climbed up the unclimbable side of El Capitan in Yosemite. No one had even tried it, let alone done it. This guy took
What is it called?
Dawn. It's the Dawn Face or the Dawn Side or something like that.
We'll try to get a link up on the screen. Yeah.
If you look up climbing movies, it is unfucking believable what this guy did. And you want to see devotion to that's what he wanted to do. And he was going to do it. And he did it. Obviously the punchline is he did it. But just watching on what he had to go through and what he went through to make that happen is
incredible. Man.
Incredible.
Yeah, especially because they said it was unclimbable.
It's unclimbable.
Yeah.
Even when he was halfway up there. By the way, he was on the face. Dawn Face, I think it's called. He was on the face of El Capitan for 3 weeks. He lived on that face. By one of those hanging tent things.
Wow. That's crazy. That's insane. But again, like it goes back to the world's going to tell us we can't do shit. The world had told this guy he could not do this.
Climbing experts, his buddies.
Yeah.
Everyone told me, nah, look, you've done all kinds of great things. You're a world famous climber.
That's insane, man.
It is insane. It is insane. But again, it's one of those things. Those are the things I love watching because what you're seeing is it's kind of like against the odds stuff. But you see what people do to get what they want.
Yeah.
This guy knew what he wanted beyond everything else. Cost him a marriage, by the way.
Yeah.
Cost him his first marriage.
Hey,
it was just too much.
Yeah. Those things definitely happen. And most of the time it's for the better of both parties. Who knows? But in that particular situation, that's really inspiring, guys. You know, a lot of people, and sometimes it's going to be the people closest to you that tell you that something's impossible, that it's not worth trying to climb it because it's unclimbable. When what they're doing in that instance is telling you what they can't do. So don't let them take what they're limiting themselves to and project that onto you as a limiting belief. They have that limiting belief, doesn't mean you have to. Let's talk about your book, because this is an awesome book. Yeah. It's helped a lot of people in our area already take their businesses to the next level. So let's talk about that, and then I have a question that we ask every guest, because otherwise, Alan, you and I are going to chat all day.
We can.
Yeah.
That's how we roll, Bobby.
So let's do this. I want to make sure these people know that this book here is a tool that they can use to take their business to the next level and themselves to the next level. And then we have a question that we ask every single guest that we'll get to right after. So let's talk about this real quick.
Elevated leadership. So it was a long time coming, a long time in the making. A lot of the work was done with the team that I work with. And what this is kind of a template for you to use for your business. This is you in the business. So the other methodology that Bobby and I have been talking about is for you working on you.
Yeah.
So this is for you working on your business. Now, if I was the doctor and was prescribing what to do, you work on you first, then you work on your business. Mm-hmm. A lot of people grab this because, I know I can help my business. And you can. But once again, until you put on that damn mask that comes down, you can't put everyone else's mask on. So that's what this does.
Love it. Awesome, okay. Awesome. All right, so the question that we ask every guest, and this comes from the title of the podcast, which is the Xtra Mile Podcast, but it also comes from, specific moments throughout my life, through my climb, where I really took the time, put the effort in, the energy in to go above and beyond, right? The extra mile, right? I went the extra mile, and it paid dividends as a result, right? You can use an example, or you can use multiple examples if you'd like to, but in what ways throughout your life has going the extra mile given you an incredible return on your investment or return on your energy?
I can write another book about this and probably should.
Yeah.
It's easy to look, but I will look here because I was so focused on becoming a father that I became a father pretty quickly after that moment when I began working. And I have 3 amazing children, just amazing. 6 grandkids, a 7th one on the way. And I look at them and I look at their trials and tribulations, which are every bit as big as mine, what they've been through. One of them is a 2-time cancer survivor, and he just turned 30, and they told him he would never have kids, and he has 3 little girls. And I remember him the first time he was in the hospital, and he looked at me and he goes, you're my hero. And I said, and you're mine. So it's raising children, helping them. That's great. My work with the chamber, I remember my biggest deal of all time came from a speed networking event. And I remember sitting there, I don't feel like going. Are you kidding? I got a lot of business. Why would I go to a speed networking event? I went to a speed networking event where you got to say what you do. You had a minute to say it. I said what I did for a minute, and I got a call from that led to the biggest single client I've ever had.
Still to this day.
Still to this day.
Wow.
So follow your path. Do what you know you need to do. Believe it.
And you were going to cancel, and you weren't going to go. And
Hey, even the coach has doubts, Bobby.
Oh, well, listen, no, I know.
Man.
Trust me, shoot. But that's how it always works, right? It's how it always works.
But
it's
in
like
the end,
something, yeah.
I said I was going to do it. I said I was going to be there.
You were impeccable with your word.
I was there.
I love it.
So,
Alan, so again, we could chat all day. Where can people right now find this book?
Yeah.
And then also give the listeners, the people watching, any social media links, websites, anything like that where you would want them to connect with you.
Yeah. Certainly connect with me on Facebook. There's Elevations Unlimited. That's the name of my company. Just contact me if you want a copy of the book. I'll certainly get one in your hands. I do not have it on Amazon. That's for a reason, which I'll tell you when you contact me. You can find me on Facebook under Alan Kovitz, under Elevations Unlimited, Instagram, LinkedIn is another good.
So just Alan Kovitz on those other platforms? Okay.
Yeah, and find me,
cool.
and you'll see enough about me.
Yeah, lucky you. You didn't have to go through all the troubles that I had to go through with Bobby Jones as my name. So
No, I understand that.
All right, cool, man. Well, Alan, it's been awesome rocking with you today. Is there anything that you would like to say that we didn't cover at all?
No, I think we'll have to do another one because there's so much more to go over. But just remember, do what you say you're going to do and believe in yourself, and take care of you.
Yeah, guys, so one thing, and I don't typically do this. Actually, this is the first time I've done this ever in the history of the Xtra Mile Podcast. I just want to say, we bring as much value as we can to the podcast through our guests, but obviously we only have 45 minutes to an hour. This is a guy that can help you navigate this path. Reach out to him. Also, man, when you talk about going the extra mile as a parent, I've had the honor of meeting his family, and what an incredible father and what an incredible family he's had, and great kids. So hats off to you, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Guys, until next time, make sure that you guys rate and like, subscribe, all those things to this beautiful podcast. We promise to continue to bring you guys elevated guests like my man Alan Kovitz. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bobby.
Your success is on the other side of your comfort zone. See, that's the difference between me and those other guys. I wanted it more than they did. I wanted it enough to get uncomfortable. I wanted it enough to go the extra mile. Do you want it bad enough? Do you want it bad enough to go the extra mile?